Before I start, I want you to kind of guess what the topic of my speech is just looking at these pictures. And while you guess, I'll tell you a little bit of a fun fact about these eight universities on the screen. One is they have a very low acceptance rate, meaning they don't admit as many people as other colleges. And secondly, is that lots of people apply to them and they usually aren't that happy whenever the admissions letter comes out. And if you haven't guessed it, I'm talking about the college admissions scandal operation, also known as Operation Varsity Blues. You've probably seen these pictures or heard on the news about these celebrities going to jail because they paid for their children to get into these elite universities without necessarily them having the credentials. And to figure out this mess of a scandal, we have to start with the man Rick Singer. Rick Singer got $25 million from 2011 to 2018 from the wealthiest families because they wanted a guarantee for their children to get into these universities without necessarily doing it the right way. And to first start off, he had this business called The Key. The Key was basically a college counseling service that aided students into getting to their dream college. And though I said it started about 2011, some experts believe that it started even earlier at a smaller scale. For example, they said that he would urge students to change their race from maybe white to Latino or white to African American to get affirmative action. Affirmative action is basically leveling the playing fields for minorities. And there was three main ways Rick Singer said you can get into college. The front door is what we're probably all going to use, which is we get on our own merit, we take our test, and we just hope and pray we get in. And then there's the back door, which is about 10 times the amount of money and not necessarily a guarantee. And this wasn't necessarily a guarantee because this could just give you a second glance, not necessarily an admission. A famous example of someone using the back door is Jared Kushner, the son-in-law of former President Donald Trump. His father pledged $2.5 million to Harvard, even though his son wasn't necessarily the brightest student. He didn't take the hardest classes and he didn't have technically Harvard level grades. Next is a side door. Rick Singer made the side door and basically hid that he was taking bribes by labeling them as donations. And he would even say, oh, you get a tax write-off. So he basically was a very good salesperson, and he created the side door. One of the famous side doors that he used was athletics. So he basically paid these coaches to recruit these players, even though they didn't play the sport or they weren't good enough to be on the collegiate level. For example, one time, I'm pretty sure he had the athletics department chair at USC and paid her $20,000 a month to recruit all of these fake athletes. Next is cheating. Basically, what Rick Singer took advantage of was learning deficiencies. He would get kids tested and they would say they have learning deficiencies even though they necessarily didn't. And learning deficiencies would have longer tests on time, and that would also mean you bubble in on a separate bubble document. And as you see, who's this guy to the left? Yeah, that's Mark Riddell. Mark Riddell will be the test proctor and would take the fake bubbled in answers and basically change it to the real one. And so this could cost anywhere from $15,000 to $75,000 on top of the $300,000 to $500,000 you're paying himself. And this basically kind of took advantage, Rick Singer did, to help kids cheat. And most parents didn't want their children to know, so they would just be in the room alone, just taking the test, and they wouldn't even know they cheated. Next is how they got caught. Rick Singer was a guy that covered all his bases, and he wasn't the type that let people just open-mouthedly say what he was doing. So he wasn't caught by anything he did himself. He was caught by someone else getting caught. Someone else got caught in a home invasion, and he basically gave up Rick Singer's name. And so what usually happens in these type of operations are that they start on the base level and then go up and up until they reach the person that basically runs the entire thing. But in this case, they had the person that runs the entire thing, and all Rick Singer had to do was make a couple calls and basically got them to admit on telephone that they did them. So in the picture on the right, you see basically all these famous parents that got caught during this scandal. What does this mean for you? You're probably going to start thinking about college very soon, and this makes college even more harder to get into. Think about it, because with all these parents willing to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars, in some cases millions, for their children to get in and go to jail for it, what does that mean for you? A person who doesn't have all of this money, well, I personally don't, all of this money, and their parents aren't willing to go to jail. If you want to learn more about this topic, Netflix does have a documentary on it called Operation Varsity Blues, if you are interested. But otherwise, thank you.